Well, good morning. You're in the right place today. You're joining me here at Much Ado About Something today, and I'm Dawn, and I'm glad you're here. Well, this is the very last day of December 2023. We're right here at the end. It's ran out. Today is the day. It's New Year's Eve. This is December 31st. Day 31st. As sure as the world, this month, this year is coming to an end. And I've got a few things I've got to do today. It's been fairly busy. It's a cold, crisp December day, but the sun is shining outside, and I am just excited about the end of December and excited about the new year. I am in here getting ready to cook my New Year's prosperity meal. I have got my collards in the sink, my greens. I'm getting ready to wash them, and I have got my pork fat and my black-eyed peas right here. Now, I've already cleaned these black-eyed peas. They've already been through the process where I picked out any little bits of stuff, stems, farm equipment, machinery, or anything that might have been in these beans. I looked these beans over really good, rocks, things like that. There are sometimes in dried beans because they came from a farm. I thoroughly picked through my black-eyed peas. All I have to do is wash them and get ready. Well, I'm going to go ahead and have a cup of tea this morning. I haven't even had a cup of tea. It's already late into the day, and I am just now getting warmed up. I'm going to take some of this passion fruit green tea, and I'm going to take a tea bag from this Taylor's Tea Room blend leaf tea. Now, I love Taylor's tea, and I love passion flower tea, so I'm going to blend these in my cup this morning. The Taylor's tea is loose, and oh my goodness. The smell. Oh, it smells so delicious. So I'm going to load up my little infuser right here. It's over here in the tea cabinet. And I'm going to go ahead and get some tea started for today. This Taylor's tea is loose leaf. So I have to have a little infuser to put that in my cup. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So I just pinch this down in here. When you squeeze this, it opens, and I just fill it up full of tea. The tea's in there, and put it in here, and I'm going to put a passion flower tea bag in there. I went ahead and boiled the teapot the old-fashioned way here in the kettle instead of using the electric kettle. I just wanted to feel the heat from the stove. It's a winter day, and the heat from that kettle heating up just added warmth to my kitchen, and so I just went ahead and used the tea kettle like that. I'm going to go ahead and let this steep for a little bit while I work on our prosperity meal. Of course, it wasn't called a prosperity meal when we cooked it growing up. It was just called your New Year's meal. I'll set this tea over here because I'm going to wash these greens, and I'm going to get them over here and chop them up. Get the cutting board, make room here on the cutting board, then we'll move on to the beans. Now, collards grow like this. This is a bunch. They would grow all bunched up like this, and of course we're going to have to cut them off of here. I've got 2 bunches here. I'm going to go ahead and cut the end off. Now I've got these cut up, and you can tell I still have some stem left here on my collard greens. I don't cut the stem off. I like to leave it on because I cook it in my dish when I fix the collard greens, and I love the little crunch of the stem in there. Not everybody fixes everything the same way. Even common Appalachian dishes, there are differences between families and differences between regions of how something might have been prepared. There's also differences in how wealthy or how poor the family was. Sometimes the family didn't throw away a lot of food that maybe if you were wealthier you threw away because you had plenty of it. Now I just make sure I wash these collard greens really good. I pick up each individual leaf and just run my hand through them and just wash over them. You don't really have to put any soap or anything on them, you know, any kind of vegetable fresh or anything, but you could certainly do that if you wanted to do that. Whatever kind of greens you get, if you buy them fresh, you know, we bought these from the fruit stand, they were fresh. They probably washed them once there at the farm just to make them appealing and so they wouldn't be completely muddy there at the market. But they still need to be washed. Washing each leaf, getting all the greens clean. And if you were eating turnip greens or any kind of greens that were smaller like that, you would probably have to wash them several times. Sometimes my turnip greens, I'll run the sink full of cold water and I'll just soak those turnip greens before I even give them the first washing. But I'm going to go ahead and wash all of these greens. We're going to shake the water off of them and let them drain a little bit, and then we're going to chop them up really good. Now, before I get started with cutting those collards up, I'm going to go ahead and get the pot ready for them to put them in as I cut them up. So I'm going to cut this on about medium heat. I'm going to let it heat up. You can use whatever kind of seasoning you use, whatever kind of oil or seasoning you see fit. You can certainly add it to your pot. You would use a heavy bottomed pot or a pot that you usually stew, whatever you stew your food in. I'm going to go ahead and use this bacon grease that I just rendered this morning. It's got the fond in it, which has a lot of flavor in it, and I love to put that in my dishes. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my pot on the heat and get it ready. Now while that pot is getting ready, it's heating up and getting ready for my greens for me to put them in there. I'm going to go ahead and start chopping my greens up. I just shake them off a little bit here in the sink and move them over here, and I just do a little chop on them. They're fresh and good and clean. They're looking good. Now you can remove this stem. You can remove this midrib right here. It's kind of, you know, a little tougher than the leaf. I leave mine in because I love it. I cut it really small and thin, and I like the little crunch that it adds to my collard dish, but you can do whatever you see fit. If all you want is the leaves, then you would just take your scissors and cut right along the leaves. Cut along the midrib and just cut your leaves off of your stem. Now that's the way some people do it. And then you've got this stem that's on your collard and it runs down the middle, and you just have your leaf that you can cut up and get ready to eat. That, of course, is a preference thing. Preference becoming between, you know, all Appalachians have things similar in common. All Appalachians may eat the same dish, but there may be a little bit of difference in the way that they prepare the dish, depending on the region, the background, the area that people come from the Appalachians. Things were subtly different. We ate our stems. We just cut them up really small like this, and they add a nice crunch and a good texture to a greens dish. We never cut the stems out, but I know families that always cut the stems out. So you do it the way that you is most conducive, the best way for your family. If you don't enjoy these little collard flavored celery like portions of stem, then you can certainly cut those out. And you just chop up and chop and get all of your greens chopped to small, manageable pieces. You can roll your greens up a little bit, makes them easier to chop the actual leaves. And we'll be chopping until we get these 2 bunches of collards that we've got here cut up and in our pot. We'll just keep adding them to our pot until we get them all in our pot. Now I've got seasoning in this pot. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water, maybe about a quart of water. My seasoning has melted in there. It's on the bottom of my pan. I'm going to add this water right over the top of the collards, because that's on medium heat and it's starting to heat up this pot. I'm going to go ahead and chop up the rest of the collards. To me, I love the smell of the collards. It's much like cabbage with just a little bit of a stronger smell. They smell delicious while they're being chopped up. Yes, Appalachian dishes can be very similar, or they can vary. They would vary by region, and they would vary by families. Depending on the wealth or the income of the family, it would determine how much of something they did eat or what kind they ate. So tradition is Appalachian tradition, Southern traditions. They're very much similar, but they're subtly different. I've got help in the kitchen. We're going to get these collards chopped up and get them in this pot. Right here is how they'll look. Now it'll look, your pot will be really full when you start out, when you get your greens in there. When you cook fresh greens like this, but they'll cook down. So don't be like, oh wow, I got way too many for my pot, because this big pot will cook down to probably about a third of this pot. That's how much these greens are going to cook down. You know, there is a good way. There is no perfect way. The perfect way to cook greens is however you like them. And if you've never had them before, then it might take you a few times cooking them to know how you like them. We were talking about the regional thing where families differ. I've told the story before where the grandma taught the daughter how to make the roast, and the grandma would cut off each end of the roast, put it in her pan, and cook the roast. The daughter learned to cut off each end of the roast and put it in the pan and cook it that way. And so she taught the granddaughter how to do that. So she cooked her roast the same way. They'd cut off the ends and they would stick it in their pan and put it in the oven. One day the granddaughter happened to ask the grandma, why do you cut off the ends? And the grandma said, because it wouldn't fit in my pot. So all those years they passed on that tradition that was unnecessary. It's good to know why grandma did the things that she did, to talk to her about it if you can, to read the notes in recipes and to just find out. But you don't want to be wasting the ends of your roast if you had a pot that it would fit in. So that just goes to show that sometimes you just have to think about why you do what you do sometimes and adjust it accordingly. Usually back in the day, though, those Appalachians, they knew what they were doing. They did it because of conservatory reasons. They were very conservative because the grocery stores were not close by. They were eating what they had on their farms. They were eating what they had around their area. And so they learned how to cook it. But there are some subtlety differences, like the stems. I like the stems in mine. Some people might be like, we never put the stems in ours. But it's just a difference to how you're used to cooking your food. I love the crunch of the stems. I like to add them. Of course, they'll soften up when they cook, but they just add a little something into the collards for me. So I never cut out my stems unless they're unusually stiff, of course. Maybe I might cut them out if, you know, they were just unusually coarse, but just average collards, yeah, I go ahead and add the stems. It's much like cornbread. You'll hear, I heard one Appalachian person say that their family never ate yellow cornmeal because they said that was for the animals. Yellow corn was for the animals. And then you have people that never ate anything but yellow cornmeal. Like our family, we always ate yellow cornmeal because that's what our family had. That's what they grew, and that's what we took to the meal, and that's the cornmeal we had. I really didn't, I never tasted white cornbread or cornbread made with white corn until I was grown and had it at a friend's house. So that's the difference. I had never tasted white cornmeal because that's not what our family cooked. And let me tell you, when I cook cornbread to this day, it's yellow golden cornbread. And I love it. It's what I grew up on. It's what I enjoy, and there's nothing that can take its place. So you see, what's best for you is how your family cooked. Unless you've never had it, if your family didn't cook it and this is a new meal to you, then you kind of want to experiment a little bit. Maybe you like the stems cut up very fine. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just like the leaves. You might have to fix it both ways to kind of find out what you actually like. Alrighty, we've got our beans here cooking. Not our beans, our collards here cooking. They're cooking down. Put the lid on them and let them go. Now we got to get our black-eyed peas. We're going to wash them up, and I've already picked through them and make sure there's no rocks, stems, or debris. I'm going to wash them up in this colander and get the pot and get the beans going. We're going to give these beans a quick wash. They're black-eyed peas. Now, if you remember when we went to the fruit stand, Donald and I bought this ham hock for our black-eyed peas. He also bought this side meat. Now, you can use either one of these. You can use ham hock, black-eyed peas. You can use bacon. But you know what I decided to use instead of using the ham hock? The ham hock that's sealed right here. I'm going to go ahead and use the ham bone from Christmas. Because look at all that meat that's left on this bone. This bone will season these black-eyed peas, and it will be delicious. So I've got my good Le Creuset cast iron with porcelain here, the stew pot that I use a lot of the times to make beans in. I'm going to go ahead and add my beans, my black-eyed peas. I'm going to call them beans because I make more beans than I do black-eyed peas. I've already put the ham hock in there, or the ham that's left over from Christmas, the ham bone with all those goodies left on it. I'm not going to throw that away. I always save the ham hock and use it in some form of dried beans. It's great in pintos, great northerns, or even black-eyed peas. When I opened the refrigerator, I told Donald, I said, I'm not going to open this ham hock because it's vacuum sealed. I'm going to go ahead and use the one that I've got right here, and that way I don't have to freeze it. I'm just going to put it in with these beans, with these black-eyed peas. Now I've got to add the water. Now we've got these beans covered in water. We've got the ham hock in here for seasoning, and I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on these, and these will have to cook for about 3.5 hours. So I'm going to let them go ahead and cook, and then I've got to make the cornbread. Now, of course, you can season those beans with whatever you like. You can put peppers in them. Salt. I'm going to put salt and pepper in these for sure. You can put onions, whatever you'd like to season your beans with. Feel free to do that. Your black-eyed peas. Well, I've got the collards and the black-eyed peas cooking, and I'm going to make cornbread. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for this December 31st video. I'm in here cooking the prosperity meal for tomorrow, and I hope to share that prosperity meal with you when it's done and share it with you tomorrow as me and Donald eat this for our New Year's meal, for the first meal of the year of 2024. I thank you for coming and sharing this time with me. Let me share with you how we make this meal. The collards, I've got them cut up and cooking, and I've got the black-eyed peas in there cooking. They'll cook for several hours, and of course, those beans can cook for quite a while, those black-eyed peas with that ham hock in there, and they'll be delicious. The soup in them will thicken up, and they'll be very good tomorrow. I'm going to make the cornbread. I don't know if I'm going to make the cornbread tonight. I might wait until tomorrow morning to make the cornbread. The collards and the beans are better the next day. They're better cooked for a little while, especially the black-eyed peas. Cooking them from dried beans, they'll need to cook for a while. But the cornbread seems to be better when it's freshly made. So I may wait until morning to make that cornbread to add to that meal. But I'll be glad. I'll try to be really careful and record so that you can see us eating this meal, sharing this meal with you. I thank you for joining me today. I hope that 2023 goes out smooth and quietly, and 2024 comes in with blessings and goodness for you all year next year. Thank you for joining me, and like always, until next time.